Hi, and welcome to Heaven. This is Julia Kibilda,
En Raquel Alves.
and today we have a special guest with us.
Mónica Chaves.
Welcome, Monica. How
Thank
are you
you.
doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
Do you want to do a little introduction to our listeners? What do you do? Who you are?
Yes, okay, so I am a tattoo artist and graphic designer. I am Portuguese and Angolan, and I'm a proud disability advocate.
Let's go.
Very well, very well. Well, welcome to Heaven, Monica.
Thank you, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're very happy to have you here. We're drinking some good red wine to welcome you in. How do you feel about it?
I am excited and I am a little bit scared because I've never recorded my voice in my life before.
Well, that's okay. You don't have to listen to it because
Yeah.
Raquel's going to edit it.
Yeah,
so it's
that's
fine.
my job to deal
Cool.
with your voice.
You can record this and never look back at it like ever again.
Obviously, I will listen to it.
Well, you don't have to, you know.
But you
It's
better.
okay.
But I want to.
But you better.
But you better.
Subscribe, promote.
I'm
like.
already subscribed.
Today, we're coming to you with a very interesting topic, which is what the fuck happened to social media?
Yeah, what the fuck is going on? Why are we going through a social media crisis? Like, why are all these billionaires going crazy and bonkers?
We have been going through a social media crisis for a couple of years now.
Exactly. So today we're going to be all analyzing it.
Yeah, exactly. You probably know more about it than us, Monica, because you actually use social media like daily in your work.
Yeah.
So
I'm not an expert. I mean, I am.
Oh yeah, but you have a platform, so it's a bit different.
I'm a small content creator and a small business owner. And I do kind of rely on Instagram for the majority of my business, not so much in TikTok and the other platforms, but it is harder and harder every day to rely on it. It's just been messy and you never know what the algorithm expects of you anymore. And every update just makes it worse.
Amazing. That's so exciting.
Considering
Considering
you're just starting.
Yeah, like
I'm so sorry.
everyone is trying to use it as like their main business platform right now. That sounds so hopeful.
Yeah, but I also think that's why like it doesn't feel social media is not that fun anymore because it just feels so pressuring with all these
Like-
updates and business focus, but not reliable business focus.
Exactly. And it feels like it's changing all the time, especially as someone who just kind of started treating social media a bit more seriously. I keep seeing a lot of TikTok content about that. So it's like, oh, if you're not getting views, you should be doing this, this, and that. And then every video says like different things. And I'm like, it's all bullshit. Like none of you know. And people are like, well, I've been doing social media for this many years, and trust me, I'm an expert. And I'm like, no, you just have like 100,000 followers that you accumulated over the years. So like, obviously you're going viral because you already have a platform. Someone who's starting the account from zero is not gonna have that.
It's hard. See, I started doing it like, and it was fun. It was actually entertaining to do it. And I was excited to film videos and edit the content and post. But it took me a good like 5 years to build the small following that I have now. And
So it's not that small.
It's small. To be fair, I've gotten the majority of my growth over a very short amount of time. When I finally started dedicating a little bit more to like what I actually put in my content, posting more regularly and consistently. But because the algorithm is always changing, what they expect from you is also always changing, and it's really hard to keep up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's really hard to adapt when you never know what you're supposed to be doing in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like this kind of started in the last few years. I feel like it would be worth analyzing how it all started and like what went wrong, you know? Like ever since kind of Meta monopolized like so many social media platforms, it started kind of going downhill. I don't know if you agree, but
Yes, I think when Facebook bought Instagram, things started changing a lot.
Oh yeah.
yeah, bring back old Instagram, you know?
Yeah, because
Bring back Vine.
yeah, we'll get to
Anyways.
that. But I feel like yeah, they really started monopolizing the whole social media because they bought Instagram, they bought WhatsApp, they created the metaverse.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I think the worst part is that it started to become, instead of this fun photo blog, besides offering a lot of opportunities for people in terms of business, it became just business. So what about everyone else who is not a content creator? Why do we have to follow
Always
those
see it.
rules?
And that's the thing, for you to be a content creator on Instagram right now, that is in itself a business.
Exactly. So it's like you can't even just be just sharing your photos. Instagram is no longer a place for you to really just share your life and be social with others.
Exactly. If you're someone like me who has like 400 followers on Instagram, who are friends and acquaintances, my posts don't even get to my friends.
Yeah,
like, they're not
exactly.
even gonna see them, because ever since Instagram removed their chronological feed
Yes.
and started adding random posts of like
Yes.
creators you don't even follow and ads, it all kind of blurs into one, and you never see posts of people you actually are friends with or you like. I know so many people that I meet in real life and they're like, oh, actually, I did this and that. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And I go to their profile on Instagram and they've posted that weeks ago and I've never seen it, because I would have to spend like my whole life on Instagram to be able to reach their content finally, because it's just not being pushed by the algorithm.
I've asked a couple of my clients about this as well, because they were asking me like, oh, I've been scrolling through Instagram expecting to see your posts because I know that you post regularly, but like I never see your posts anymore. And these are people that are actively seeking to see my content, and it's not even showed to the people that want to see it and I like look for it. So clearly something went very wrong in there. They should not have taken the
chronological
away. That was the best feature it had.
Yeah, exactly. Or there
Yeah.
should at least be an option to filter, like
You can at least sort, for example, like in your feed on Instagram, you can sort just by the people you follow and see
yeah,
just the
that's
follow.
true.
That's the only thing you can do. It still does not appear
Yeah, but it's the
chronological.
only thing.
It's the only thing you can do.
But still, and also like I follow a lot of accounts, but back in the day, it would still prioritize the people you actually follow, like the people you interact with the most. So your friends and stuff, like they would always get pushed out first, even if you follow like brands and other stuff, at least in my experience. And now it's like the other way around, so you don't really see anyone else.
I feel like at this point I'm not even seeing in my feed like people that I follow. It's just brands and ads. And I know I follow a lot of people, and I scroll through like the first 5 posts on my Instagram. Not a single one of them is someone that I follow. It's just ads or like brands.
Like that's not how it's supposed to be, you know?
I mean, at least before they used to target the content according to what you liked, but at this point they just give you anything and everything.
I think that's the point, right? Because it feels like it's becoming just a bit of like tech bros arming together towards a very specific goal and ideology where they're all, you know, pushing content that goes into their interest. I think it's happening with Instagram, Facebook, Meta, but it's even more obvious with Elon Musk when he bought Twitter and changed it complete for X. And
let's just say a moment that like Twitter forever be Twitter.
No,
also,
I don't care.
A horrible choice of name.
Exactly.
It looks wrong, and for a very specific reason. I think everyone knows why.
It's wrong, it's bad, and for those purposes and for our political ideology, we'll call it Twitter.
Twitter. Forever Twitter.
Exactly.
But I feel like that was the most obvious first huge change in the social media landscape, because Twitter was so big that these news and this breaking news of him buying it and changing it completely, and also just being like his almost personal, you know, crying baby place to like
it's his playground.
It's his playground, and he does whatever he wants.
And also
with it.
like taking such a big control over it, I feel like that kind of made people realize these people who own the platforms have like full control over it, and they can literally decide anything. Like people before, I used to be sort of like, hey, they have a lot of power, but you know, they're not gonna do that much. But with Elon Musk being absolutely unhinged, it showed people how big their agency is. Like they can just remove who they please from the platform. They can censor anything that they want.
And they have been doing that.
And they've been doing that.
They can spread any kind of misinformation that they wish. I think both Meta and as well as Twitter removed verification processes for information. So now
the fact checking.
Everything on like Facebook or Instagram is user verified, quote unquote, which means like anyone can say whatever they want because there is like no fact checking whatsoever.
And also with ID verification, they also took that away. Now you could just buy it.
Yeah, you can pay for it.
You can just pay. I could create an account saying that I'm Donald Trump, and I could just pay to say that I'm verified.
And they don't check.
They don't check. From now on, I will go on Twitter and just be Mariah Carey. They would not care because you just pay for it.
That's crazy.
Which, you know, resumes US capitalism in a very fine sentence, I would say.
Yeah, ever since Twitter turned into an X, I've been...
The must not be named.
The must not be named. I went on it, I think, once since before completely deleting the app. And the shift that I saw from... You know me, and the only thing that I saw on that feed was one post by Rihanna, which I didn't even follow, sadly. And everything else after that was Trump supporters.
Yeah.
I know for sure that I did not follow a single person like that. I did not follow a single one of those accounts. I did not see anything that was relevant to me, all I saw was Trump supporters.
That's the thing. That's the thing that makes people mad. It's like this. It's not just like a lack of control. It's feeling that you are being manipulated on what you see online and perceive what the public. It's not what the public wants. It's not a public platform. This is very much controlled and monopolized by one person with a clear ideology and being pushed on you.
Exactly.
Pushing it to you, like you don't even get a chance to say no. Like
Yeah.
it's the only thing you are going to see now.
Exactly.
And like with the, I don't know if you guys remember like the drama after the US election when on Instagram found that like their accounts were automatically following like Trump
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
and JD Vance's account, and then when they would consciously unfollow them, it would follow it back again. That's so dystopian. Like it's so scary.
It's really disturbing.
Like it's so disturbing. And like no wonder, I mean, if you look at Trump's inauguration, you see all these men in one room just being there supporting him because
And it's all men in technology.
yeah,
fields.
Exactly. Like Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos there.
Like Mark Zuckerberg.
The guy from the OpenAI is also there.
Again, even the same thing. People say like, oh, let's go to TikTok since like Meta is, you know, controlled. But then like the whole thing with Trump reinstating the TikTok.
The TikTok ban.
After the TikTok ban, it was also so dystopian. Like the way the notification was phrased.
Yeah.
When it's like, oh, thanks to the efforts of President Donald Trump, the app is like working again. I mean, you have to be stupid not to see it as like pure propaganda, right?
That's pure propaganda and is literally giving totalitarianism. Like it really is. And even the whole censoring that's going on with this government is literally like you really seeing the birth of the new dictator. And everybody's kind of like, not okay, but everybody's definitely letting it slide.
Yeah, but we've been there before. We all remember the dictatorships in Europe and how it all went down. And you will look at those patterns and look at the shit that's happening now in America. But I feel like
it's no surprise it's happening in America because they are not so attuned to that part of history, you know? Like it didn't really concern them at the time. And I feel like us as Europeans were way more shocked at what's happening.
Because we lived it.
In a way.
Like,
in a way.
Not as specifically we weren't born there, but like my grandmother, for example, she tells me stories of that time. She lived through the 25th of April revolution in Portugal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, it's really scary to see how social media is the biggest like mass media right now in the world is like getting completely skewed and affected by this. But even apart from the propaganda, like everything has gone down. I feel like there's just no good social media anymore.
Because it's not social, right? It's just media.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just online media platforms. They're actually not social. How do you even when you go on TikTok, which in a way, besides all the bad stuff, I still prefer it compared to Instagram. I feel like it has a bit less ads, but like I've seen more stuff that I like.
Yeah.
Besides it all, of course, but I'm actually not interacting with anyone. I'm interacting with content. It's not social. It's just media.
I feel like Instagram used to be like this big place where I would go actually engage with people and not just with their posts and like have conversations with the people and with the accounts and everything.
Yeah.
And ever since they introduced Reels, that completely died. Nobody has conversations there anymore. You like something that you see, you save it, and you never look at it again.
Scroll and that's it. No, but that's very true. I mean, it's no wonder why I feel my following on Instagram has been so curated over the years because you're like back in the day, you would literally follow things that genuinely interested you and like really interact with what you were seeing and the content also felt like way more deliberate because it was made for the purpose of sharing it with others and not for the purpose of sharing whatever to trick the algorithm or to monetize on it.
Also because the algorithm in the beginning didn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah. It was pretty basic, you know, it was like none of the thing that it is now and like changing all the time and trying to adapt to like trends and whatnot.
If you don't do this video long enough, we will not push it to anyone. If you do it too long, we will also not push it to anyone. Nobody's gonna like it. Nobody's gonna comment if you say the wrong words. There's gonna be no engagement. You're not gonna have a conversation with anyone. It's dead.
Yeah, when I think back about the times of the chronological order, those golden times,
the golden
age. I remember, for example, when I used to be completely addicted on Tumblr to scroll. I reached the end. They say, "Are you all caught up?"
Yeah, it would say the same on Instagram as well.
Yeah,
I used to do that.
And I'll be like, okay, well, let me refresh, and there's nothing new. People are not online. People are not posting. Well, I gotta go do something else.
Move on.
There was no doom scrolling before the algorithm.
Yeah,
There was-
exactly.
Even on Instagram, on Reels, like on not on Reels,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
on the Explore page, after like a certain
Yeah,
amount
it
of
would
posts, you
be
would
like,
reach
oh,
the
that's
end,
it.
and that would be it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
only then it would show you like other profiles that you weren't following, but they were like, oh, at least you want to consume content. Here's some
Yeah,
other.
you can't force it on.
Or you would have to actively research, like, well, I still want to see stuff. So I'm
Yeah,
media
exactly.
research stuff. So it was actually more engaging. You were more active on social media than you were passive. Now it's like you want content at 3 a.m. No problem. Go to your For You page.
You're
And
never
you
gonna get tired of
But
it.
before you would like, well, 3 a.m. you have nothing. People are sleeping, and you're like, well, okay, I'll just go do something
Yeah,
else.
exactly. I remember when I would go after school and then like check my Instagram and it would be like how's everyone posting or whatever, and it was always such a struggle when I was on a holiday abroad and I wasn't in the same time zone, so you couldn't see posts of your friends or
But that's it. You go on Instagram and like look at what was going on,
exactly.
and then you finish, and then you move on with your life and go literally do anything else.
Exactly.
So it's actually like people would be super at the beginning, like, oh my god, all these kids are like always online. They get back home from school to be online, but it was actually not
It's actually
not that bad compared to now. Like
No.
at some point you have nothing else to see, so you just go away. You get bored and like, well, I might be doing something else.
No,
Still go
honestly.
outside, even if I'm just scrolling on Instagram. But now if I open Instagram, I will be stuck for 3 hours.
No, for sure, because the content never stops, and that's the point, is to keep you in there.
Exactly. And also I feel like the type of content, as you said, like it has changed so much. Today, everyone is trying to be perfect and everyone is trying to portray someone, like some idea of someone who they want to be, like on social media. Whereas before, yeah, you were creating yourself, but it was way more authentic because you were kind of like sharing what you wanted to like a small pool of friends that cared about you and what you wanted to share. Like even it was like curated to an extent because obviously it's social media, it's like performative, but it was not like, oh, today, I don't know, tomato girl aesthetic is trending, so I'm gonna pretend I'm like what the fuck does that even mean, you know, like, or oh, like now this and this is trending. Like even now when I'm on TikTok, it suggests you what topics are trending right now. So if you want to
Make content,
make your content and reach other people, you should do it on those specific trends. But it's okay, what if that's like not my thing? What if I don't want to do that? Like I just want to share what I
Your
care about
experience,
and
yeah.
my experience, and I want to be authentic and I want to share whatever happens in my day. But that doesn't sell anymore because it's not engaging. It doesn't give anything to anyone. Like suddenly I have to ask a question. I have to be like, what do you think about that? How do you feel about wearing jeans under a dress or whatever, you know? It's like, I don't care, you know?
Oh my god, I remember one of the first influencers that I ever found was it's an Italian influencer called Chiara Ferragni.
Oh,
yeah.
You know that, right?
that drama right now, that like
Before all the drama.
That
Before
was
all
down
the
to-
drama.
Like, do you know Chiara Ferragni? Like,
I used to be obsessed with Chiara Ferragni.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed doing it like at the prime where she was still doing blogs and everything
Yeah.
when she started with the
like
blogs
even before she was like having like big brand deals.
Exactly, and I enjoyed like going to watch her stuff and read her blogs because she was actually genuinely sharing the experience, and it was interesting to see like the life of someone else through
Yeah, exactly.
whatever it is that she was sharing, and that was it. Like she would share her experience, close the blog,
yeah,
move
exactly.
on. You didn't have like a bazillion different types of videos like going on. Content creators now, I feel like, just kind of create videos for the sake of posting, no longer just to share experiences or information.
Like generally engage with others. It's like
Yeah.
you want their engagement.
So you're doing content.
So you're doing
like,
content
for
but
them to engage.
everything feels so empty, right? Because
exactly
you're doing this, people consume, but there's no actually social engagement.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah, or I was gonna say stuff like rage bait. Right now, there's so many rage bait accounts.
I'm
No,
not proud,
it's like-
but I've done one of those videos.
Oh no.
No, but it's like the perfect example because there's like entire accounts that create like a false reality because it's all rage bait, and the whole purpose of it is monetization and clout and clicks, you know, which I can't get behind it. Like whenever I see an account like that, I just report it because it annoys me so much.
I remember when I could just post a picture of something like a tattoo that I did just to show it, like, yeah, I did this like when it was cool, and here's like a little bit of background on it. And I feel like at this point I can't really just do that. I have to like do a video, I have to make it engaging, put captions, put like very specific details in it for people to be hooked onto it. And if I show it too much, if I just make a static image, people are not gonna like care. It needs to be moving, it needs to be constantly engaging, otherwise it's not good enough.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be like, wow, have you ever wondered how it is to like have a cloud tattooed on you.
Yeah, oh, POV, like
I say POV.
I say
Okay, my bad.
POV too.
I said
Okay,
POV. POV, you get a tattoo of your favorite movie, and then someone comments Twilight, and it reaches 1 million views because of someone commenting Twilight.
It's not even the video.
It's not even because of the video, like, it's no longer about the content, it's about, like, the engagement that it gets and, like, anything else but the content itself.
Yeah,
It's frustrating.
it's frustrating, and that's the problem, right? I think this whole social media crisis thing that we all kind of feeling that has been around for a few years, like it's just everything is just frustrating.
It is. Sorry. We were having a moment.
Stop letting everyone coming ahead.
Our legs were touching. Sorry, you go on.
There was some sexual tension around here, so just bear with us.
The
This is
wine,
very PG.
the wine was going down really well.
It's okay, it's explicit. Like I always put it as explicit.
Okay, never mind. It's no longer PG.
But
We say fuck all the time.
Oh, fuck.
no, but sometimes I don't even know if I said fuck or not, so I just put explicit
Yeah,
regardless.
we always.
That's
Well,
it.
I swear a lot while I talk anyway, so good.
So you don't even remember, like if you said it or not. You probably did.
I
So
feel like it's
just
just
put it.
part of my speech at this point. I'm very sorry.
It's just how I am.
It's just part of my being.
Stop!
It's a lifestyle. Okay.
Speaking of that,
Continue.
actually, if you say the wrong thing on like social media right now, it's like it's gonna get banned. Like your post is just gonna get removed. And right now, it's even more certain political topics or like
Topics or words
or words that are considered not appropriate by the current administration, which
the problem is that you start associating like words to specific topics, even if it's not about the topic. Like as soon as you close enough, like okay, nipple, woman, like just any like word of woman,
Now the word of women is banned.
it's banned. Like is my existence like not
exactly,
allowed
like
on social media?
I read this article that like female hygiene product brands were having like a really hard time pushing their content on social media. And it's been actually proven that their reach has been cut down recently. On purpose. So like, menstruational cups, like I don't know, organic tampons, stuff like that, women's safety kind of accounts or like organizations, like that all has been cut down. And that's just insane. Like,
You know how you're technically not supposed to show nipples on Instagram, right? A couple of months ago, I posted a video that had like a bunch of pictures of like stuff that I did, and one of them, it didn't show a nipple, it didn't even show a full boob, it showed like the line of the under boob, like just that single line, and my account almost got banned because it showed the line of the under boob with like anything else on it. The nipple was covered. It didn't show the full boob. It showed like the torso. The focus was the torso.
That's
and they
crazy.
almost banned it.
Like, how can you post like a picture of a man with like full on like chest, and you cannot post like a picture of a woman?
You see
like,
a line
corner
in a
of
woman's
their
body,
boob.
and it's immediately like it's too
But then
sexual for
again,
you.
you have like brands or like whatever, like the Kardashians posting like pictures of their butt all over. So I'm like,
It has to be terrible. Like it's not the common consumer that can post whatever they want.
Exactly.
It's only the popular people like the Kardashians that are allowed to do that because that's their whole image. That's what they're known for. So for them, it's okay.
And they bring money to the app.
And they bring money to the app, exactly.
But again, that's like the same thing with the words. That's like borderlining, politicizing women's bodies, which are very political. But at the same time, it's like almost censoring women's bodies for whom? Like, why are we censoring this too? Like, who's your audience?
It's a body.
Like, it's a body, and who's your audience, right? Like, why would that need to be banned?
Exactly. I don't know, like people don't really consider it. Like women are the biggest group of consumers in the world.
Right. And why is it need to censor a woman's body to other women?
Without us engaging on social media, there would not be social media. Like it would not.
Everything would
die. I would just be Reddit, which is not really a good sign.
Yeah, exactly.
And she sips.
Okay.
I'm talking about like this idea of content and like social media being all about content and not so social anymore.
Just media, no social.
No social. The social was a paid actor that just went away. I think when I think about like the whole history of social media, like we started with apps like Messenger and Ask a Friend.
Oh, I remember that.
FL. We just unlocked
That was a memory.
But
that
there
was
are
very
so many
deep.
creeps on Ask Your Fam.
That's true.
There's so many creeps on all social media.
That's true.
That's
But
true.
that was purely social. It was
Yeah.
just speaking.
You
It was
just-
just
I
chatting.
know.
You're just
Ask
going
Your
there to
Fam.
talk to
It was
people.
just chatting. And then you got MySpace, and then you got Facebook, which was
Yeah.
like the first major and really defined social media from then on, which got mixed media. So you could chat, you could write, you could post photos.
To be honest, I only used Facebook when it started because of the games. And
Same.
Farmville.
Same.
Farmville for life.
Farmville was so good.
That's true. No, but speaking of that, back then, like social media, I'm sure there's like other platforms. It was way more limited. Like it was not global yet, you know?
Yeah, they were definitely more niche. They were slightly smaller. So it was never overwhelming. It was just exciting.
Exactly. Even like Tumblr, like it was also for like a specific
Oh, yeah.
type of people.
Oh, yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
not everyone was on
Yeah.
Tumblr.
Not
everyone-
Everyone knew about Tumblr.
Not everyone
But
understands.
the thing about
Only the real
Tumblr
ones
was
know.
really that thing of like, you know, we feel so frustrated with social media now, and we feel like sometimes even anxious going on social media, and it feels like a chore to have to post. It feels like a chore having to go through it, following those trends. And Monica's having a moment.
I mean, I was literally just editing a video because I was supposed to have posted it 2 hours ago.
But you see, like you feel this pressure on it
Yeah.
because it's not
You-
chronological. It's like through an algorithm, and it has to go, you know,
Exactly.
according to the
If you're, like,
algorithm.
If you go a day without posting, you're like, oh my god, I'm like too slow. Like I should be engaging more. Like I should
Instagram
be
is punishing you for it. Yeah.
Exactly. So is TikTok, and that's so harmful as well because then people spend like an unnecessary amount of time on the app because they want to push their own content. So they click, like, comment, random comments on other people's posts because they're like, oh, I'm gonna trick the algorithm and I'm gonna make it think I'm engaging. So none of it is like genuine engagement.
Yeah, but if you don't, but at the same time, like if you don't post like consistently like the Instagram wants you to, you go into what we call shadow ban, which means that
Yeah.
it's literally never gonna show your stuff to anyone. You could have 1,000, like 100,000 followers, and if you're shadow banned, like it's gonna show it to maybe like 4.
And that's also very like encouraging, right? Like
Yeah, like who
Who
has
wants-
the right to decide that, you
who
know?
has that decided? And also we can say, oh, you don't have to do things for validation, but like it's also, why are you posting if nobody is going to see it?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, you could technically some people would post just for like posting, just for sharing, but that's the thing,
But-
like it
but-
transitioned from
but
being
even
that.
if
Now
it's
you
not-
post because you
but-
need that
But if
engagement.
it's not reaching the people you're sharing into, then what's the point? And also, like,
Yeah.
who's to decide that, like, oh, you're now like not worthy of your content being shared to the people who follow you and who
But-
want to see it?
But as we were saying, like our personal, like aside from content creation, our personal post that is just like, oh, I went to this restaurant, and you just post it on your stories, and or make a little post on Instagram, doesn't even reach your friends.
Doesn't even reach your close friends.
Doesn't even reach your close friends. The social is really lost because you also lose, like, okay, so social media is now just meant for content creators. Is social media now just meant for influencers? Can I not just be
Myself,
a
yeah.
regular person who just wants to connect with my friends online?
Yeah, it used to be a platform where everyone could go and just like, oh, I'm gonna just like share some cute pictures I took with my friends that also follow me, and we can all like
Yeah.
look at it together and discuss it. But now it's just, if you don't have anything like super important or like super interesting to say, it's basically telling you like don't say it.
Yeah, and then we
Exactly.
talked about this many times together that, oh, it feels like everyone now is a content creator. Well, in a way, they kind of have to be.
Yes, otherwise like you don't go
And
anywhere.
otherwise, they can't even participate in it.
Exactly. You have to use the trending sound, or you have to like fall into like a certain niche so that you get any sort of engagement.
Yeah,
And I
because
don't know.
every time I would, like, I don't know, after school, I would go to like I'll log in my computer, go to Tumblr. It was exciting. And
Exactly.
I could like reblog something at a random hour of 12, and it would get 5 reblogs, and I would like, wow,
I'm so
Honestly.
I'm so
popular.
popular.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's like, oh, if you only get like 600 views, like you're flopped.
You're
like
flopped.
you're a failure.
Like, what do you mean 600 people watch me? That's more friends than I have.
That's like more
Exactly.
people than I can like encounter on a day sometimes.
Exactly. And it's pretty
As a work from
fun.
home person.
Same.
Honestly. No, but it's very true. And I don't know, I feel like it would be worth mentioning. There's been attempts at like alternatives to that, but I feel like none of them really
None of them suck.
kicked off.
I think
Like Be Real. you
Baby
know?
was the most notable
Yeah.
alternative that flopped.
You know what? I know a lot of people that are actually still using Google.
No, Be Real is still being used, but Be Real was launched as like the anti-Instagram.
Yeah, but now I know it's supposed to be the platform like, oh, you take a snap at the time, regardless of what you're doing, because it's supposed to be real and
No one
everything.
does
But
it at the
everyone,
time, anyway.
yeah, no one does it at the time. And also, anytime that you take a snap, you can reshot it, which means that you can literally alter any detail that
You
you want
can
about it and
restage
make
it.
it. You can restage it exactly. Like, so it's no longer real.
But besides of even in the beginning, you had like all these rules, but after a few months or so, do you want to like reshare your Be Real on Instagram? Boom, the whole concept
And
lost.
it got ruined.
Exactly. Like, for example, even Snapchat. Snapchat used to be such a massive thing.
Snapchat was such a fever dream.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, even then, all these little social media platforms were kind of like integrated back into the big three, you know. I remember when Instagram released stories and everyone was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but now
copy
it's-
Snapchat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was exactly to copy Snapchat. And I remember people were outraged at the beginning because they were like, we already have Snapchat. What the fuck are you doing, Instagram? And now no one uses Snapchat anymore. At least I don't. Like some people,
No.
some like young people in America do, I guess.
Do it.
I think.
Chris still uses Snapchat.
I can't believe that.
I know, but
That's
she mainly. That's the thing. Like some places, some countries like Bulgaria, for example, apparently a lot of people still use Snapchat in Bulgaria, especially young people.
No, I get
Which is
that.
really
Because like for example in Poland we use Facebook Messenger. That's like the biggest chat.
Same in Portugal.
So we don't like use WhatsApp. So I have all
But
of that
again, we didn't get developed, that's why those stay.
I still are, but still are.
I feel like those big platforms just absorbed all the other ones and it kind of they're trying to like merge into one thing. Like when Instagram started Reels, it was to copy TikTok.
I mean, where are my squares?
Exactly.
Oh my god,
Where is
are
the square feed?
Because I remember everyone is also outraged when Reels came out. Like, oh my god, it's the exact same thing, but now everyone has transitioned to it. Like lots of people stick to TikTok, but you have a big mix of both of them now.
Well, that's the problem. Everyone complains, but no one actually has the guts to boycott or leave.
Exactly. Or like when there was like a whole scandal of Instagram stealing artists' work and like using it to train AI. Whereas like the new platform Cara.
Yeah,
I tried that.
for artists,
And I made an account on it too, but it also kind of flopped. So
See, that's the thing. I think Cara was developed. It's supposed to be like a platform for artists share their art and then get like engagement and stuff. But they forgot about the bits that involves, the audience that the artists have to share too.
yeah, and a lot of those people are not artists, so they're not gonna go out of their way to sign up on the platform.
Exactly. So like, yeah, artists would sign up and like share their work, but they won't only be seen by other artists. Which obviously, like artists also consume stuff by other artists, but that's not the main.
Yeah, it's very different. Exactly.
It's not the main public. That
your main audience is like people who can't do the same thing that you're doing.
So it ended up being very like it was just like stale. There was no movement.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it was sad because they had promise, but
I feel like the problem with these like alternatives is that you never want to leave the main ones because they have, in a sense, all your data. They have all your followers. They have like everything that you already liked, curated. You don't want to leave this. Not everyone is going to the alternative. Therefore, you have the FOMO of not leaving it as well because you can't have it. Another thing is that obviously these giants, as we saw with the case of Meta, it just absorbs all the alternatives as well. A lot of times, copies them and makes them redundant in a way. So like Snapchat kind of died. I mean, it is famous in a couple of countries, but it died. Like it's a dead social media.
It's not famous in a couple of countries.
It's not a main social media as like Instagram, YouTube, whatever. It's not a main point. It's not a place where everyone is. So they either get absorbed, made redundant, or they fail as well because they try to be real or authentic, but they copy the same models as the main ones. How much of an alternative is that if we're just going to do the exact same thing, but just saying we are different? Like, that's not different.
And then you end up having no place else to go other than the main platforms because no place else works. Like, I would love to quit Instagram. I am so tired of it. It's draining every fiber in my being. But I can't do that because I rely on it to be able to make a living. And I've tried other platforms. I've tried literally just like the old school website, like on Google and ads and stuff. It doesn't work. Like Instagram is my main source of income at the moment.
What about TikTok though? Like, is it the same or?
It's kind of like the same thing. I don't post as much on TikTok, but I do have a lot of people that find me through it. and then search for me on Instagram.
Oh, I see. So they, like,
it
start
is
off
all
from
leading to
one
the same place.
place.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of talked about this in our other episode, how these alternatives are born out of seeking for authenticity.
Exactly.
And in this case of social media, we want to see real people. We want to see creators who are authentic and are not just posing and selling it or whatever. But I feel like this crave for authenticity is actually fake in itself.
Nothing that you put, no platform, no matter how authentic they want to be, people are always gonna post non-authentic stuff on it because you can always alter like your content.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
And I think like it's inherently to like the human experience to be performative. Like
Yeah.
you perform when you are with your friends. You pose like a more chill vibe, like what?
Chill vibe.
Chill vibe. Sorry, chill vibe.
They know-
Laid back.
Yeah, like
attitude. You let yourself be retarded as I am right now.
hey.
When you are with your family, you perform in a slightly different way. When you are at work, you put a much more authoritative persona,
That's
much
true.
more like in the game, head in the game in the persona.
Yeah, you're like different versions of
When
yourself
you
with
meet
different people.
when you meet someone new, you want to obviously seem the coolest person ever on the world to impress them. So you put a persona. The fact that you perform social media, it's not bad, it's not wrong, it's human, it's inherent. But I think the problem is that we are looking for sincerity more than authenticity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when there was the TikTok ban, for example, we got a trend of all these influencers saying what they lied about in their content.
Oh, what?
Because they thought like TikTok is gonna be banned, so like nobody's ever gonna know this again. But also most of these influencers are also on other platforms. So like why are you
That's so
exposing yourself in this if you're expecting to not have consequences from that
Yeah.
exposure when you're also on other platforms
Oh
that
my
people
God.
also follow you on? It's
Yeah.
gonna follow you anyway.
It was such a drama in a sense of it's not like TikTok is the only social media around here.
Yeah.
Like
And oh my God, I saw some of them and some of them were kind of bad.
like what?
I honestly cannot at the top of my mind, but like I remember this one influencer and she was like a food influencer or whatever, and she basically confessed that like in most of her videos and where she cooks, it's not even her cooking. She hired someone to do the cooking for her.
That's
So
crazy.
and she just
And she
basically
films
filmed it,
it, like
yeah.
making it.
And said
Exactly.
she was her damn.
Yeah, it
So
was
like
so
just her
bad.
hands like doing shit. That's crazy.
Exactly. So she just filmed like her hands touching the ingredients, like maybe cutting a slice or two of the tomato, but like all the cooking was actually done by someone else, and then she just filmed the final result.
Oh my God.
So she was just like an editor.
Like your whole thing.
I swear you can't believe anything nowadays. Like
Your
that's
whole thing is sharing recipes, teaching people
Yeah,
how
people
to cook,
trust
like
you,
sharing
like-
like how you do these recipes, and it's all fake. Like all of it.
No, it's like that. I don't know if you guys seen, but like I really love like true crime and stuff. So there was this new documentary on Netflix about this girl who also became popular through social media, and she faked that she had cancer, that she had like a brain tumor, and she like built an entire platform.
Oh, I know the one. I saw a video about this the other day.
Yeah, and she like built an entire
They even
platform
have-
on like curing herself with like juices and like healthy foods.
Yeah.
Wait,
Like healthy foods. And
but I'm thinking of something else. Because
And it wasn't true, like she never had cancer, she was just a chronic liar seeking attention. But then she got, brand deals, she got a cookbook with Penguin,
I'm thinking of
Damn,
something
with
else.
Penguin.
I'm thinking of
Yeah.
something else.
and she got super like famous, and she was telling people like, advice of like, oh, if you have cancer, it's okay, you don't need chemotherapy. You just need to eat these recipes. And that's insane because you can kill people because of that, So like obviously that's an extreme example. But
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think it's not about being authentic, because if you think about it, like in that example, it was authentic. They really wanted money. Like
Yeah.
it was authentic. They wanted it.
authentic.
It was
wasn't
not
sincere.
It wasn't
It
sincere.
wasn't sincere.
And I think that's the problem with you go online and you log into your account and it's just people selling you stuff. It's just
Exactly.
people, oh, look at my outfits, but it's all brand deals. So it's like, did you really pick up that outfit because you thought it looked good? Or it's
No,
like it's
it's about
just pieces.
for you.
gave it for you.
It's just like all pieces from one brand or one store
exactly
to make an outfit and sell it.
I think that Chiara, again, like coming back to like Chiara Ferragni, she's like a brilliant example of that because
Mhm.
like she used to have like very distinct style with very dopamine dressing kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And I remember at some point, like, she started just posting much more like elegant clothes or very random style. There was like really off-brand for her, like personal style, and it was just because it was like sponsored by other brands.
Yeah.
And I like really remember like seeing that on my feed when I was like a teenager, and I was like, wow, this is weird. But like, there's like this whole drama where she wore a Dior or someone's like dress and was wholly fully like see-through. And it really could like see her boobs and everything, and people were like, "Well, he would never wear that normally." Like,
And mind you,
it's
like-
not your brand. That's not why we follow you. It's not relatable anymore.
And mind you, like people's styles, they change all the time. But like it's when a brand will pick you to go like their fashion show because they like your personal style, but then they will send you the specific outfit you have to wear to
Yeah,
attend it.
Exactly.
Like your style didn't actually matter. Like they just want you to advertise.
Exactly.
That's exactly what happened with celebrities. But like celebrities, they have different jobs. So like an actress, their job is not to dress up. Their job is to
Exactly.
act.
And you don't expect from an actress to be genuine because you know
Or,
they're an
or
actress.
relatable because they're like a whole
Exactly.
star.
Whereas like the whole point with influencers is that the relatability
Yeah,
factor, right? So like that's the whole point. And now like all these big influencers are also becoming celebrities, and it's kind of like contradicting the whole purpose
It's
of
no
the
longer
influencer career from the start. And I feel like that's why like, we're kind of entering this vicious circle of social media, because you start as an influencer, you get your following because you're relatable, but then once you amass enough following, a lot of the time, instead of staying true to yourself, you just go for the money, which, listen, you know, fair enough, right? Everyone needs to sustain themselves, but at the end of the day, it's like up to you who you like choose to portray yourself as, and like what you choose to do. And I feel like that's why like social media is getting so like dystopian, because you cannot really trust anything anymore.
Especially if you have like a very big following, you kind of end up most of the times having to be able to, you are able to pick who you collab with. So you can pick like who you actually align with, who is better for like what you believe in, who is better for like your specific style, your creativity, and you create content in your style that then ends up relating to what they need, and not just like doing what they want for you instead.
Like 50K for a post, I'm sure you can, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure you can do like what you want, you know.
Exactly.
That's kind of the whole point.
But
Like,
it's all kind of like personal integrity kind of thing.
But I think we have to also agree that in a way that being an influencer is actually not a very sustainable job, because legit, like when the TikTok ban happened, the reason why people were freaking out is because they had businesses, they're gonna lose their income like completely. Their business was solely relied on a platform that is flimsy, not reliable, and can literally just shut down at any moment. They can literally say, "Oh, we're going to ban you because you have ovaries." Gone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the biggest problem.
That's why some of them start their own brands, like businesses. You know, Matilda Deer, for example. But then you kind of get the dissonance of you're the brand. You start as the brand, and then you create your brand, which is like a clothing brand or cosmetics brand or whatever. But that brand will forever, ever, ever be linked to you as a person. And like in her case, she like it came out that she was like a really horrible person and like a really horrible employee, and that she like bullied her employees in her fashion brand. And yeah, it was like a whole thing. They had separate bathrooms for employees that weren't her favorite employees, and they would like get punished if they used the other bathroom that wasn't for them. They would have to like scrub it.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's all like a whole like there was like a whole documentary about it. But anyways, like what I was gonna say is that it's kind of like really hard to separate yourself from like the online persona that got you there in the first place when you're an influencer.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, you know, again, it's kind of like, oh, people making content for the sake of making content. But at the end of the day, whatever you make and whatever you post, it will create who you are online and what people expect from you in the end.
So you have to be intentional.
So you have
share.
So actually you have to be really, really intentional with what you post, because if you do ever succeed, it will be what people perceive you for.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard to kind of shift that. So if you start in like a certain niche, it's very, very, very hard to like change that and change your online persona. Like if you start as a comedian sharing memes,
people are most
it's very hard to suddenly, I don't know, become a fashion influencer, right? Because that's not what people follow you for. And like vice versa.
But like I think that's what I mean. Like all this conversation, we mostly talk about influences and content and all of that. As I was saying, like it's just it becomes a bit overwhelming of like you cannot participate in this world if you're not a content creator,
Exactly.
if you're not part of this market. So where do I go to hang out? Because we also have an episode about third spaces and how they're kind of gone. So like
if internet is a third space, like social
internet
media is a
was
third space.
was is
yeah.
it was a third space. So where do I go to hang out? Like I live in a country and not all my friends live in that country. I have friends in different countries, which is a blessing but also a curse because obviously I can't be with them
all
the time
regularly.
and regularly, and it's sad, but it's just part of life. And social media are a great vehicle for those online relationships, or to keep those online relationships that you don't have in your physical world, in your like real life. So it's like, what does that leave for the rest of everyone? Because I think what I was gonna hint at in the beginning was that we lost that part of the social within the media, and that we used to talk to one another and then we stop, and now it's just about content and how platforms like Vine that you like screamed at some point.
Vine.
Vine was so good.
And Vine together with YouTube were very fun, but they were the main platforms that started this content creation.
And
consuming. So like you're no longer a person with another person interacting and sharing.
Because like I had Vine, but I've never made the Vine. You
never made Vine. You're just a viewer.
Oh my god, I want to see your.
But
it doesn't exist anymore.
But that's the thing. Like you stopped being. You were in Messenger or even on Tumblr. You interact with people. You speak with people. You don't make content. It's mostly about reblogging and curating your anonymous self online. And out of a sudden, you are actually like a viewer. So the Vine and YouTube really create this dynamic of content and viewers. And later on, it evolved into like content and consumer. Like we all consume. Our views are no longer just views. Our views give money to the people who are like making it. Even if we don't actually give money to this one person, they are getting money out of your view. So you're no longer like a social person online.
You're no longer a passive viewer.
You're no longer a viewer, you are a consumer. And I think that's why we get so frustrated to be on social media, because sometimes we really just want to have maybe a conversation with someone, and that's almost impossible. Like sometimes I forget to just answer my DMs because I end up scrolling on Instagram.
I get so overwhelmed with my DMs. I am so bad at answering to them because there's just so much stuff going on outside of them.
That is very true, Monica. That is very true.
Shut up. Even in my business account, for example, there is so much stuff happening outside of just the DM, outside of just like the message part of Instagram, that it becomes overwhelming to even open the app to then go and answer to the people that I need to answer, because I feel like I'm going to open this app and my intention is to answer to someone, but when I open the app, it turns you immediately to do the landing page, right? And immediately you are bombarded with content that you are forced to consume. Like sometimes you don't want to consume stuff, but I just want to maybe like, okay, watch a silly video, move on, answer my DMs, move on. But you're forced to consume stuff all the time. You don't even get a choice.
And you are pushed into it, but you actually don't want to do it. Everyone is like looking through downsizing their time online, downsizing their time on their phones.
People are downloading these apps and block you from
so they are addicted, they are in it, but don't even want to be in it. Like I remember in the beginnings of social media, I wanted to be in it all the time. It was exciting to go in and see all the new stuff that were coming through, and now I just want to avoid it, but at the same time have that feeling I can't avoid it too much because that's going to be bad for me in the future, or in case of content creators, like, well, yeah.
But you know what? It's addicting in the same way that drugs are addicting, because it's just bombarding you with dopamine when you are there, that you just want to keep because it gives you more and more and more. And that's why like you kind of also crave it when you're not on social media. Like if you're bored even in the slightest, the first thing you will do is like reach for your phone and like open Instagram, scroll through the reels, like TikTok, whatever. Because you need that dopamine. Like you would prefer, and I've seen people like that actually done studies about this. People would prefer to like shock themselves by pressing a button than be bored for more than 30 seconds. And that's what dopamine is, like what Instagram is doing to you.
But we need boredom.
Yeah,
That's the
but
problem.
people cannot deal with boredom anymore because of social media.
But that's the point. Like, we always been bored. But before social media allowed us to be bored, and now they don't allow us to be bored.
Yeah, and especially as like creative people, I feel like you get ideas from being bored.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
you start doing things that you haven't done before from being bored.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of social media, like it just erases any sort of thought. And I guess the question is what, like, is there an alternative, right? Like, is there?
I think it's more like, where do we go?
Yeah,
Because
exactly. Like,
if
what do we do? Because if we're so unhappy, but that's like the only place to be, like, what do we do? Like, do we leave altogether and boycott it? And we just start calling each other, like, on the mobile, you know?
because the underlying problem, right, of all of this is that these social media are not social in the sense they're not public spaces.
No.
They're private spaces.
Exactly.
You accept and sign a terms and conditions to enter it.
Exactly.
And they are very visibly, as we could see in all these latest events, they are controlled by someone who wants to do something out of it for their own purpose.
Exactly, who has an agenda.
So where do we go? If there's no true public online space and there's no escape from these giant platforms because, well, no one is going to go to the alternatives because the alternatives will always flop because the giants are just too big. Where do we go?
We cry.
We try.
No, seriously though. I feel like a big difference that I've noticed also like ever since moving to London and the rise of doom scrolling and all of that. It's something that I feel a lot of people have been like lacking recently and don't have anymore, which is community. But like not online community, like community in where you are. Like
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like
true.
when we were in Portugal, like for example, we had, at least in my case, I had like a very big community and a very big sense of community. I was always surrounded by it. I had like options, you know? And ever since moving to London, or I still had like part of my community, but it didn't engage anymore with itself in the way that it used to. And so everyone started gravitating towards like, you know, finding a different community online, or like you go online to find a community and find places to go and like be with that community.
That's true.
And you no longer have it like in person and physically anymore.
Yeah.
So you don't have like that space to be in anymore, especially in places like this where it's so hard for you to find your people because everyone is always just so detached, I guess,
for
like
sure.
distant.
And also, if the only way to find people online is through an algorithmic system or structure,
Yeah.
you also won't find it because the algorithm is going to push what's popular, not what actually interests you.
Yeah.
Or it's going to push whatever the owner decided, like, this is what I want this week to go through.
Exactly.
So is even a cultural revolution possible in social media? Is it possible?
No, because it used to be like you frequent the same places all the time. You start getting to know the people, you start hanging out. Now it's like you meet someone cool or like an outing, like, oh, let me get your Instagram, and then you never talk again.
Yeah. I would say though, in my opinion, the only way in terms of conclusion that we can somehow leave this crisis, or like at least, you know, make it slightly better, is to really decentralizing social media.
Yeah.
Because that's what Meta is doing, is like centralizing all in itself. That's why the TikTok ban and all that fight is because, well, I have a monopoly here in America. I don't want these Chinese coming over and kill it. So they just like, you know, agglomerate, and that's why every alternative fails.
That's
so
true.
We need to decentralize social media, but how do we do it without having flops like Be Real, really?
I mean, we will have to be going outside what the social media is. You have to like be more in person and less online, I guess.
I think one of the reasons as well is like people feel, and I understand because I feel the same, is that people feel very attached to their platforms.
Yeah, and people have FOMO too, so it's like
so much FOMO.
if you leave, you always think, oh, what's still there? Like, what am I leaving behind? And I feel like
because there's a lot of you in it. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I've been on Instagram for over 10 years.
Yeah,
exactly.
same,
That's
exactly.
a decade of my life.
No,
You get attached to it.
I
like,
guess
you know?
because it took me so hard, for example, to start a TikTok account because I was like, oh, there's no way I'm gonna be able to like curate my Instagram as well as my TikTok as well as my Instagram is made, because I cannot be bothered to go through my following list and follow like all the same accounts that I follow on Instagram. Like I've had these for years, and some of the people I don't even care about them that much anymore, but it's creators that I followed when I was like 16, or like artists or whatever, and I was pretty into them at the time, and in a way that following kind of reflects how I grew as a person, like how my interests have changed as well. And every now and then your post will pop up on my feed, and I'm like, oh, it's actually nice to see what they're doing, because I remember I followed them when I was like 16 and I was in my like realistic painting stage, you know. So exactly. So I don't know. I feel like I don't feel that kind of connection with like any other platform. So obviously it's difficult. But
no, I never really got like into TikTok either. I started. There was a time period of exactly 3 months during the pandemic that I was really
well, that's
into
when
TikTok.
when TikTok rise to what it is.
But it was 3 months, and that's it. Like I forgot that it existed, and I started like a TikTok account literally last year, to like maybe help me boost my business a little bit. And I post on it maybe like once every 3 or 4 months, and then I just forget that it exists because I like you said, like I can't be bothered to go in and like search for every account and every interest that I had, because Instagram is already tailored with like the people that I enjoy watching.
Exactly. Also, you don't really have energy to like jump from one platform to the other and have like 4 different things at a time. Like
to like stay on the loop.
It's too much.
I like everything in one night.
Exactly, it's too much, and that's why this monopoly is working, because everything is in one place, and that's because it's already so overwhelming with jobs and everything, and social media is this kind of like escape. You want it to be easy, and you want it to be simple, and you want it to be something that you have everything in one: your friends, the people that you want to follow, the people that you aspire to be, the people that you want to be friends with, and that's kind of what Meta is doing. So I feel like without a really conscious effort from people to find an alternative and to commit to like alternatives, and for people to create also like, equally engaging alternatives as well, like it's really, really difficult.
I think, definitely creating new things is not going to work, because that's going to lead to this like fatigue of apps after app. But the thing is we feel so attached to something, but we want something else, but we don't want to lose. We need to make them not a monopoly. That means like merging all into one, but we need to make them an actual web, like an actual internet web that is interconnection.
Exactly.
Do you guys know that like Twitter alternative that came around, the Blue Sky?
Yeah, I've heard about it.
I don't know that.
So Blue Sky was created by the original Twitter creator.
Oh.
And once he was like sold to the one who must not be named.
The one that he who must not be named.
So it's been created by the same Twitter. Like he's no longer the CEO, but he was the one who created it. And it was going to be the alternative to Twitter, who got like snatched by a crazy man. A crazy man. Like TM. And it's actually, he created it, he's the founder, but he doesn't own it. Mm-hmm. So this is part of a bigger project called Free Our Feeds.
Okay.
Which is about bringing back the early internet of open source websites and of open source platforms. Ooh. So, and the project is not just about creating one alternative app. It's about any app that exists is open source and people can use it, and it's actually not owned by a random millionaire. It's not owned by a company, it's owned by the people.
Yeah.
And and everyone can build it. But the coolest part is that instead of being like apps that exist in a vacuum, in the sense of, well, not everyone is in it, well, let's just make them connected.
Yeah.
So the whole project of Free Our Feeds, it has a bunch of people working on it, and it's state funded, and they get funding from different people. You can donate it yourself as well. Is to be able, and Blue Sky is the most notable one because it had a very famous person creating it and being part of the project. Really cool. There's like also actors supporting it, like Mark Rober, for example.
Yeah.
And it's about having these apps not exist in a vacuum and not being flops, but being interconnected. So you don't have the problem of the attachment to your data, in a sense, that is in other platforms, but it also won't get consumed by big giants and not in one flop. So that's the true meaning about decentralizing social media. It's like not one big platform that, well, since I own everything, I'm just going to tell you what to do and you just have to abide to it because there's no other options. The whole project, and it's in its beginnings, but I do see some hope in it. I don't know if it's going to ever go mainstream, but it might be a place, because there's also been a lot of statistics of people, reaching out from more niche communities. I mean, that's why Reddit never died.
Yeah. That's why Tumblr is actually still a thing.
Tumblr is still a thing because of that. People just stayed with their niche.
Mainly because of fandoms.
As well.
Let's be honest.
So, like,
Fiction.
also, I feel like we should just start maybe having a bigger variety of social media in a sense, like
Yeah,
not putting
exactly.
everything in the same bag.
Exactly.
Yeah, but then the thing is that people are not. I feel like people have started like kind of lose patience to be jumping between apps for
Yes,
like
but it's-
different types of needs. So you're gonna have to like basically find a really engaging way of getting people to do that again.
I feel like people also keep talking about it, but like if we do want to see like some change, we also need to make conscious effort to make it happen. And I feel like we are being very passive about it. We complain a lot, but no
We
one
have
ever
to act
leaves
it,
and
yeah.
no one ever enacts any change. And the thing is that there is legislation and there is policies that can be enforced for this monopoly to be broken down and for things to happen. And I do understand, like, right now in the current political climate within the US, that might be challenging. But in other countries in which those social media platforms function and to which laws they do have to abide because they function in these countries, there is actionable, like, social effort that can be made for it to be regulated in a certain way so that it does not escalate to like a certain degree. If people are vocal and if they do enact change and if they do try to make it happen, or like threaten to jump to alternatives again, or like consciously engage in alternatives as well and try to see what's out there instead of conforming to what's already there, and instead of staying in their comfortable bubble and being afraid to leave it. That's like the only way that this can happen. And if you think about it, I mean, people didn't know what Facebook was and people didn't know what Instagram was when it first started. And the same can happen with a completely new platform. Like, who's to say it cannot?
Yeah.
You never know.
It can still happen. And I feel like it's just up to us to be conscious. I guess like conscious is a good word, like conscious of what we do online and how we act and how it changes us, and be intentional with what we're doing, and also like be wary of what's happening on there. And
I think a lot of people, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, there was a lot of people who left.
I feel like people are starting to
You're starting to realize that it's actually gone to shit.
Like, it's obviously not gonna happen overnight, and it's not gonna happen fully because many people just don't give a shit, or they don't care, or they're not educated, and they will just never see it for what it is, or they disagree with the other side. Like,
because it doesn't affect them personally.
Exactly. Like,
but
that's
normal.
People
need to really realize that these platforms are what they are because of all of us. It's actually we talk about influencers a lot, but who keeps the machine working is the consumers, the viewers.
And like,
those are the ones.
It's not gonna make any change if you post a video on that same platform criticizing that platform.
Yeah, exactly.
It just fuels it. It just adds money to it. And the thing is, if we don't engage with the alternatives, or if we don't simply like say, okay, that's enough, like that's beyond my personal limit, I'm done with that and I am gonna leave, and it's fine. I'm gonna tell my friends, message me on this phone number or message me here, I'm only gonna reply to that, fine. I'm gonna consume what I need to do, but I'm gonna try to limit my time on this. But that takes conscious effort
and collective effort,
and like collective effort as well. And I think that's, to summarize, like the only way in which change can happen
is acting together.
Let's go.
So yeah, I think that'll be all. Anything to add, Monica? How did you feel?
How's your podcast debut?
My podcast debut. I want to do more.
Let's go.
I like it.
Well, you're welcome in heaven any other time.
Exactly.
Okay, I'll be waiting for the invite then. Thank you.
You can just invite yourself.
Okay, I'll see you here next month then.
Just reply to your DMs.
Reply to your DMs. Be social.
I told you I get overwhelmed.
Be social, okay, and reply to your DMs.
If you're not social, just be.
If you're looking for a great alternative to scrolling on social media, listen to Heaven on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Podcast.
Music?
Yeah, we're everywhere.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean, Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts.
I've been listening to it on Spotify. Yes, go listen to it. I'll post it.
Yeah. And go follow Monica. Engage with her still post, please.
Go follow Monica. It doesn't give any information on where.
Put in the caption.
We'll put in the caption. Go follow Chaotic Tattoos in all platforms, even the bad ones. And engage with her still content because she is less work for her and more money for her. So let's go.
Let's go.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.